Imagine walking into a cafe and seeing a group of people who look almost human, but not quite. Broader noses, stockier frames, heavy brows, but they're reading, laughing, and sipping cappuccinos just like everyone else. That's not science fiction. That's a possible reality if Neanderthals hadn't gone extinct. Roughly 40,000 years ago, a second species of human disappeared from the Earth. Homo neanderthalensis, our closest relatives, vanished after surviving ice ages, mammoths, and millennia of evolution. But what if that extinction never happened? Picture a world where humans weren't the only intelligent hominins on the planet. What would culture, society, politics, and love look like if Neanderthals had lived on and shared the Earth with us? Some scientists believe Neanderthals were more than primitive cave dwellers. They buried their dead, made jewelry, possibly had symbolic thought. In many ways, they were just like us, only different, very different. They had larger brains in some regions, especially those connected to vision and physical coordination. What if their strengths had been nurtured over tens of thousands of years alongside ours? Would they be Olympic gold medalists, artistic savants? We tend to assume evolution had one winner, us. But in a parallel timeline, nature may have crowned two intelligent hominins, coexisting, collaborating, and sometimes competing in a shared human destiny. Think of how our early ancestors encountered Neanderthals in Europe and parts of Asia. Interbreeding occurred. Some of us carry Neanderthal DNA even today. What if, instead of brief encounters, we'd formed civilizations together? Could we have had Neanderthal presidents, inventors? Would Neanderthal scientists share Nobel Prizes with Homo sapiens? Or would our societies evolve completely separately, segregated by species? Would interspecies relationships be taboo or celebrated? Would we speak one common language or hundreds, influenced by two different neurological makeups and vocal tracts? If Neanderthals had survived, the world might not be shaped around Homo sapiens' dominance. Every institution from education to religion to law might reflect dual human governance, dual human ethics, dual human identity. In classrooms, children might learn about Neanderthal contributions to history, mathematics, and engineering. Holidays might commemorate the first Neanderthal astronauts or the unification of Homo species under a global treaty. But let's not romanticize it too fast. History between different human groups hasn't exactly been peaceful. So, what about the darker sides of this? What if? Would discrimination have taken a whole new dimension? Imagine racial tensions multiplied by interspecies conflicts. Homo sapiens versus Homo neanderthalensis, division deeper than skin color or culture. Would we fight wars over evolutionary superiority? Would Neanderthals be considered second-class citizens, or would they dominate certain industries because of their biological advantages? There's a possibility that Neanderthals might have dominated in particular regions or technological domains. If their visual spatial abilities outpaced ours, maybe they'd lead in robotics, architecture, or 3D design. Or maybe they'd struggle in modern capitalism, not wired for the kind of hyperverbal social navigation Homo sapiens thrives in. We could see Neanderthal communities isolated, underrepresented, or even exploited. Could AI and tech be developed to cater to two different human species? Apps with dual UI systems, schools with species-specific curriculums. Would accessibility expand to account for evolutionary diversity? It's not far-fetched to imagine entire cities built by and for Neanderthals, optimized for their unique physical and cognitive traits. Cities with wider hallways, stronger doorframes, dimmer lighting, and soundscapes that suit their sensory preferences. Could these parallel societies create their own pop culture? Would we have Neanderthal filmmakers, musicians, and influencers with a distinct aesthetic and philosophy? Would Neanderthal TikTok be more rhythmic, visual, and emotionally intense? We often associate intelligence with language, but some researchers believe Neanderthals may have had rich non-verbal communication. In a dual human world, we might have embraced a hybrid communication style, gesture-rich, expressive, and visual. A handshake could have more than social value, it could bridge species. Art, too, might become a global language, with Neanderthal cave painting traditions influencing mainstream media and design. What about religion? Would Neanderthals worship differently? Or would their ancient animistic beliefs merge with Homo sapiens myths to create dual-species spiritual traditions? Would some religions see Neanderthals as divine beings, ancient guardians of Earth? Others might demonize them, creating theological rifts that echo our historical struggles with difference. And here's the burning question. Would humans and Neanderthals view each other as equals? Or would one species inevitably? Imagine Neanderthals in classrooms, universities, and laboratories, learning side by side with Homo sapiens. Two kinds of humans, genetically distinct but intellectually capable, exploring the cosmos together. How would this dual presence reshape the course of science and society? In our timeline, Homo sapiens walked alone into the future. But in this alternate world, every scientific breakthrough, every engine, algorithm, or cure could be the result of dual human innovation. Two brain structures, two evolutionary toolkits, one shared ambition. Neanderthals might excel in certain mental tasks, like three-dimensional problem-solving or precise tool use while Homo sapiens lead in verbal reasoning or abstract thought. Together, we'd build a balanced brain trust far beyond anything we've known. Imagine joint space missions, with Homo sapiens navigating protocols and Neanderthals adapting physically to harsh environments. Mars colonization might come decades earlier, with two human teams using their unique skills to terraform red soil. Artificial intelligence might be trained on not just human data but to distinct neural architectures. AI systems could learn to balance logic with sensory awareness, adapting to serve multiple kinds of minds. Medicine would be revolutionized. Hospitals wouldn't just cater to one anatomy, they'd treat two species with different immune systems, bone densities, and neurological wiring. Genetic medicine would thrive, adapting therapies to suit both blueprints of humanity. Would medical ethics expand to protect both species equally, or would one get better care, faster treatments, and more resources, rekindling ancient rivalries under a modern microscope? If Neanderthals hadn't gone extinct, we'd need dual-species governance. Laws would be crafted by interspecies councils, courts would weigh intent through two cognitive lenses, and justice would reflect evolutionary nuance. There could be entire branches of interspecies law focused on communication misunderstandings, strength disparities, or mating rights. Consent might mean different things neurologically, requiring cross-species cultural literacy. Education would be transformed. Schools might offer two curricula, one designed for Neanderthal cognitive styles, the other for Homo sapiens, yet unified by common goals like empathy, cooperation, and peacebuilding. Neanderthal children might learn through spatial puzzles, physical exploration, and communal storytelling. Sapiens kids could thrive on verbal instruction and abstract theory. Shared classrooms would encourage both learning styles to blend. In politics, we'd likely see interspecies alliances and also political factions based on species identity. Would Neanderthal-led parties rise in Neanderthal majority regions, calling for rights, representation, or even independence? Or would visionary leaders from both species unite populations under a common banner of hybrid humanity? Would interspecies marriages produce ambassadors of peace or be targets of prejudice? History might unfold with moments of deep tension. Protests demanding equal access for Neanderthals, movements challenging Homo sapiens privilege, a civil rights era not just about race but about species. The world could also witness beautiful moments of unity, a Neanderthal and Homo sapien team inventing a clean energy breakthrough, a mixed species music group creating a new genre, an interspecies summit resolving global conflicts through empathy. Language might evolve in fascinating directions. A hybrid pigeon could emerge, part gesture, part sound, part visual art. Maybe Neanderthals would develop a unique writing system, elegant and pictorial, capturing their cognitive strengths. Linguists might debate whether Neanderthals possess true syntax, but if they contribute to global literature, compose poetry, or encode emotions into symbols, the definition of language itself would expand. Art galleries could feature dual exhibits: Homo sapiens painting realism, Neanderthals carving immersive installations. The art world might embrace new sensory dimensions, shaped by Neanderthal spatial perception. Music might feel deeper, with Neanderthal rhythms rooted in ancient instincts, drums mimicking mammoth heartbeats, flutes echoing glacial winds blended with sapiens' complex harmonies into haunting, hybrid symphonies. Religious syncretism could emerge, blending Neanderthal animism with sapien theology. We might see sacred texts authored by interspecies councils, echoing both evolutionary narratives and spiritual revelations. Imagine a new kind of prophet, half Neanderthal, half Homo sapien, preaching unity, coexistence, and cosmic purpose. Or picture splinter sects fearing genetic impurity, warning of apocalyptic consequences if species boundaries blur. Dating and reproduction would be more complex biologically and socially. Interbreeding already happened in our past, but what if it had continued, legally, ethically, emotionally? Would hybrid individuals face unique identity struggles? The rise of hybrid offspring might spark philosophical questions. What defines a human? DNA, language, empathy. Perhaps these children would be bridges carrying the future of both lineages. Media representation would become critical. Would Neanderthals be cast as villains, heroes, or comic relief? Or would we finally see species-accurate, dignified portrayals, shaped by Neanderthal creators themselves? Neanderthal film festivals might emerge, showcasing immersive documentaries, multi-sensory experiences, or dramas told through body language and shadow play. A whole new grammar of storytelling could develop. Urban planning would be radically different. Cities could feature twin infrastructures accommodating to species with different ergonomics, sensory needs, and mobility styles. Neanderthal neighborhoods might emphasize closeness, warmth, and grounded architecture. Public transport might adapt. Taller ceilings for sapiens, reinforced handrails for Neanderthals. Street signage could include color codes, glyphs, and gestures designed to communicate across cognitive borders. Even our economic systems might evolve. Different labor patterns could emerge, reflecting each species' strengths. Neanderthals might dominate fields like sculpture, forestry, or deep-root mining while sapiens lead in law, finance, or journalism. But ethical concerns would loom. Would certain industries exploit Neanderthal physical strength? Would sapiens hoard intellectual property rights? New labor laws would be vital to prevent species-based economic disparity. The military could face intense dilemmas. Would Neanderthal soldiers be considered more expendable due to physical resilience? Or would their loyalty and courage earn them elite status, perhaps even feared by sapien officers? Could there be an Neanderthal peacekeeping force, specializing in post-conflict rebuilding, using their spatial skills and empathy to stabilize war zones? Or would some countries attempt to militarize Neanderthal populations for power? Climate change and environmental crises would be approached through two lenses. Neanderthals rooted in ancient ecosystems might advocate fiercely for Earth's protection. Their philosophies could reshape global policy, emphasizing long-term harmony over. The year is 2125, on the 100th anniversary of the Inter-Hominin Declaration of Unity. A young Neanderthal girl gives a speech at the United Nations. Her voice is calm, resonant, her gestures deeply expressive as she speaks about climate, peace, and the shared destiny of humankind. In this alternate timeline, Neanderthals didn't vanish. They endured, they adapted, they thrived. And now they help lead a world that isn't dominated by one species but shaped by two. Humanity, plural. Progress, collective. Imagine a world where evolution wasn't a race but a collaboration. A planet built by minds that see the world differently, feel it differently, and yet believe in the same future. That world could be more empathetic, more balanced, more resilient. Would we be more humble, knowing we are not alone at the top? Would wars be harder to justify when both sides must include another species' perspective? Perhaps shared humanity would no longer mean one face but many. Science fiction once dreamt of alien encounters teaching us unity, but we had that chance on Earth with Neanderthals. They were the others we once knew, lived beside, and ultimately lost. What if we hadn't? It's haunting to think what we gave up when they disappeared. Not just a branch of the human family, but a way of seeing, building, loving. We might have traded variety for dominance, diversity for uniformity. Their extinction wasn't inevitable. Climate stress, shrinking resources, disease, and Homo sapiens competition all played a part. But if one variable had changed, a longer warming period, a slower migration, a deeper alliance, they might have survived. Even a few thousand more years of coexistence could have tipped the scales. Cultural exchange might have intensified, technology shared, interbreeding increased. Slowly, the line between them and us could have blurred into we. Imagine literature born from dual memory. Stories with Neanderthal oral rhythms and Homo sapien metaphor, epics that span not just civilizations but species, myths that honor two beginnings and one future. In this world, education doesn't just prepare sapiens for life, it includes Neanderthal wisdom. Children learn ancient foraging patterns, memorize rock art constellations, and engage in both tactile and verbal learning from birth. Universities offer joint degrees in Inter-Hominin ethics and cognitive anthropology. Students explore how minds process reality and how that duality can be a strength, not a threat. AI evolves beyond sapiens-centric models. Neural nets simulate both Neanderthal and sapien cognition. Robots don't just mimic human behavior, they reflect dual human logic, compassion, and creativity. Inter-hominin marriage isn't a novelty, it's a norm. Hybrid children carry a fusion of physical features, neural diversity, and cultural depth. Identity becomes layered, not fragmented but beautifully complex. Political leaders rise from both lineages. A Neanderthal prime minister in Finland, a Homo sapien president in a Neanderthal majority African federation. They speak different dialects but dream the same dreams. Sporting events showcase mixed species teams. Neanderthals excel in strength-based sports, weightlifting, wrestling, stone throwing, sapiens in speed and agility. But hybrid strategies win championships. In the arts, an opera composed in Neanderthal tonal sequences becomes a global sensation. The staging is multisensory audiences where haptic suits, feel rhythms through bone, see stories unfold in shadow and gesture. The world begins to reshape itself not around dominance but around dialogue. Philosophers explore dual human moral frameworks. Is justice interpreted the same way by two species? Or does empathy mean listening to both heartbeats? Neanderthal spirituality, long overlooked, rises to global influence. Their reverence for ancestors, land, and cyclical time resonates with a planet in ecological crisis. Their stories teach sustainability, humility, and interdependence. Even space exploration changes. A mission to Europa includes both species. Neanderthal adaptability to cold and physical resilience proves critical. For the first time, humanity touches another world not as one but as two. Global crises reveal the strength of dual human civilization. During a megastorm, Neanderthal engineered shelters withstand the winds. During a digital blackout, sapien code writers restore communications. Both species save each other, but challenges persist. Deep-rooted prejudices linger. Some extremists still call for purity or species separatism. Tensions spike during resource shortages. Hybrid individuals sometimes face suspicion from both sides. Education and media play a vital role. Curricula center on unity. Documentaries and films showcase the long road to coexistence, the wars, the alliances, the love stories. Children grow up knowing history includes more than just their own kind. The arts create empathy. A viral play reenacts the last Neanderthal village's survival. Audiences weep not out of pity but out of recognition. That could have been us, they realize. That was us. On a national holiday, Coexistence Day to children, one Neanderthal and one Homo sapien. Place a wreath at the memorial of the lost lineages. It honors all the hominins who didn't survive. Denisovan's Homo erectus, Homo floresiensis. The world remembers not only who lived but who might have lived, a lesson carved in stone and sung in two voices. Never again, the plaque reads, will difference mean disappearance? What would our culture look like now if Neanderthals shaped it with us? Would we have created different moral codes? Would the internet look different, more visual, less verbal? Would art lean more tactile than digital? Maybe cities would be quieter, more nature-integrated, reflecting Neanderthal sensory needs. Architecture might be rounder, earthier, more harmonious. Homes could include hearth-scented spaces for shared memory. Language itself might evolve beyond words. We might invent visual somatic dialects, languages spoken through motion, light, and touch, designed for dual comprehension. We might even redefine what it means to be human. No longer a single species, but a collective idea open to variation, built on dialogue, rooted in mutual survival. Would war still be so frequent if every conflict required consensus between two distinct minds? Would peace become easier, not harder, when it's crafted by species with different triggers, needs, and hopes? Perhaps Neanderthals would be the peacemakers. Their evolutionary path favored cooperation and clan unity. Maybe they'd temper sapien impulsiveness with grounded wisdom. Or perhaps it would be sapiens who'd teach Neanderthals how to leap, how to dream beyond survival, the fire and the earth, the ambition and the anchor. Together, we could be the fusion of mind and body, of story and silence, of progress and presence. We could be the human chorus evolution never finished singing. The biggest loss in Neanderthal extinction may not be scientific or historical, it may be emotional. We lost kin. Minds we could have known, friends we never met, partners we never embraced, a voice in the global song forever missing. But what if we carry that loss forward, not as guilt, but as fuel? To honor diversity wherever we find it, to listen harder, to embrace what's different. Never again let fear silence a kindred voice. This thought experiment, this what if, isn't just about Neanderthals, it's about us, about how we treat the other, how we define family, and how we imagine a future big enough for more than just ourselves. Maybe, in some deep part of our memory, we remember the Neanderthal in our DNA still